The story of the Mahabharata is vast. It's, like a great forest with so many paths. On one of these paths we find a mighty tree. This tree is Bheesma. He stands tall and strong through many seasons, watching generations of kings come and go. His story is one of great strength but also, great sadness. He wasn't born to a king's wife in a palace. He was the son of a king, Shantanu, and a goddess, Ganga. The river goddess herself was his mother, and that made him special. He was part human, part divine. He was a prince destined for greatness, blessed with celestial knowledge and power from the very beginning of his life. His birth name wasn't Bheesma, it was Devavrata, which means one who is devoted to the gods. He was the 8th son of Ganga and Shantanu. His 7 older brothers were returned to the river by his mother. This was actually part of a curse she had to break. Devavrata was the only one who lived on earth. His mother, the river Ganga, took him away to the celestial realms to be educated. He learned the Vedas from the sage Vasistha. He learned the art of war from Parashurama, the warrior sage. He was trained to be the perfect king, a ruler who was wise, just, and unbeatable in battle. His return to his father's kingdom of Hastinapura was a moment of great joy and promise for the future of the Kuru dynasty. When Devavrata came back to his father, King Shantanu, the kingdom rejoiced. Here was the perfect heir, strong and wise. The future of Hastinapura seemed secure and bright. He was the ideal son, obedient and capable, ready to take the throne. The people saw in him a leader who would protect them and bring prosperity. His presence filled the court with hope. Shantanu was proud of his son. He saw the reflection of a glorious future in Devavrata's eyes. The kingdom was stable, the succession was clear, and everything seemed to be in its right place. But the wheel of fate, the great chakra of time, had other plans for this noble prince. The world of men is often shaped by desire, and King Shantanu, despite his age, fell in love. He saw Satyavati, a simple fisher girl, and wanted to make her his queen. Her beauty captivated him completely, so much so that he just couldn't think of anything else. He became sad and distant, lost in his longing. The king who had everything felt poor without this one woman. This deep desire of the father would soon become the destiny of the son. It was a turning point, a small ripple that would grow into a great wave, changing the course of the river of Devavrata's life and the history of his entire family forever. A choice was coming, one that would define him. Devavrata just couldn't bear to see his father so unhappy. He was a dutiful son, and honestly his father's sorrow became his own. He went to find the cause of the king's sadness. He learned that his father loved Satyavati, the daughter of the fisherman chief. Devavrata went to the fisherman himself. He asked for Satyavati's hand in marriage for his father, the king. He wanted to solve the problem and bring joy back to his father's heart. He was acting as a loyal son, thinking only of his father's happiness, not realizing the great personal cost that would soon be asked of him. He was ready to make any sacrifice for his father's sake. The fisherman chief was clever. He saw an opportunity. He said, "I will give my daughter to your father, the king. But I have a condition." He wanted his daughter's sons to be the future kings of Hastinapura. This was a huge demand. It meant that Devavrata, the rightful heir, would have to give up the throne. For any other prince, this would be unthinkable. The throne was his birthright, the reason for his entire upbringing. But Devavrata did not hesitate for a moment. He looked at the fisherman and made a promise. He declared, "I, Devavrata, give up my right to the throne. The son of Satyavati will be king." This promise was great, but the fisherman was still not satisfied. He was thinking of the future. He said, "You are a great warrior. What if your children challenge my grandchildren for the throne one day? What then?" The fisherman was planting a seed of doubt, pushing the prince to an even greater sacrifice. He was asking for a guarantee that would secure his lineage on the throne for all time, a promise that would go against the very nature of life and society. Devavrata understood the depth of the fisherman's fear. He knew what he had to do to remove all doubt and seal the promise completely. And so, Devavrata stood there, by the riverbank, and made another, more difficult promise. He took a vow of lifelong celibacy, a promise to never marry and never have children. This vow was so shocking, so awe-inspiring, that the gods themselves showered flowers from the heavens. They gave him a new name, Bheesma, which means, he of the terrible vow. In that one moment, Devavrata the prince died, and Bheesma the grand regent was born. He sacrificed his future, his family, and his personal happiness for his father's desire. This vow would protect the throne for Satyavati's children, but it would also bind Bhishma to the throne of Hastinapura forever as its servant, not its master. Bhishma's vow changed everything. His father Shantanu married Satyavati. She had two sons, Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. But fate was cruel. Shantanu died, and soon after Chitrangada also died in a battle. The younger son, Vichitravirya, became king, but he was young and weak. Bhishma, true to his word, did not take the throne for himself. Instead, he ruled the kingdom as a regent, a protector. He managed the affairs of the state, protected its borders, and made all the difficult decisions. He was the king in every way except in name. His life was no longer his own, it belonged entirely to the throne of Hastinapura and the promise he had made. As the guardian of the kingdom, Bhishma had to ensure the family line continued. He went to a Swayamvara, a ceremony where a princess chooses her husband. For the young king Vichitravirya, he abducted the three princesses of Kashi, Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika. He defeated all the other kings and brought the princesses to Hastinapura. Ambika and Ambalika married Vichitravirya, but the eldest Amba declared she loved another. Bhishma let her go, but her beloved rejected her. Amba returned, blaming Bhishma for her ruin and demanding he marry her. Bound by his vow, Bhishma refused. This refusal created a powerful enemy, as Amba's anger would follow him across lifetimes. Vichitravirya also died without having any children. The Kuru line was once again in danger of ending. Satyavati, the queen mother, was desperate. She asked Bhishma to break his vow just once to father children with the two widowed queens. But Bhishma refused. His word was absolute. He would not break his promise, even to save the dynasty he had sworn to protect. This unyielding loyalty to his vow is central to his character. It shows his strength but also his rigidity. The solution came through the sage Vyasa, who fathered the princes Dhritarashtra and Pandu, and the wise Vidura, ensuring the family line would continue, but with complications that would lead to future conflict. Bhishma became the grand uncle, the patriarch of the entire Kuru clan. He raised both the Pandavas, the 5 sons of Pandu, and the Kauravas, the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra. He taught them all, loved them all, and watched them grow up in the palace. He saw the goodness in the Pandavas and the jealousy in the Kauravas, especially in Duryodhana. He was trapped by his own promise. He was sworn to protect the throne of Hastinapura, and the person on that throne was the blind king Dhritarashtra, whose son Duryodhana was the crown prince. Bhishma's loyalty was to the crown, not to a specific person or to what was right or wrong. This created a terrible conflict within him. When the Great War of Kurukshetra finally began, Bhishma faced the most difficult choice. He knew the Pandavas were on the side of Dharma, of righteousness. He loved them dearly, especially Arjuna. Yet, his vow bound him to the throne of Hastinapura. He had eaten the salt of Hastinapura under the rule of Duryodhana. Therefore, he had to fight for the Kauravas, against the very people he loved and believed were right. He became the supreme commander of the Kaurava army, a fearsome and unbeatable warrior. For 10 days he devastated the Pandava forces, a river of destruction that no one could stop. His heart was full of sorrow, but his arms were full of strength. The Pandavas knew they could not win the war as long as Bhishma was fighting. He was just too powerful. He had a boon that allowed him to choose the time of his own death, so really, no one could kill him unless he allowed it. Krishna, the divine guide of the Pandavas, told them the secret to defeating Bhishma. Bhishma would never raise a weapon against a woman. The Pandavas brought Shikhandi to the battlefield. Shikhandi, in a previous life, was the Princess Amba, who had sworn revenge on Bhishma. Seeing Shikhandi, who was neither fully male nor female, Bhishma lowered his weapons. He saw the face of Amba and accepted his fate. Behind Shikhandi, Arjuna shot arrow after arrow into Bhishma's body. The arrows didn't kill him, but they pinned him to the ground. He fell, but his body did not touch the earth. He lay upon a bed made entirely of Arjuna's arrows. He had fulfilled his duty as a warrior. Now, he chose to wait for the auspicious time to die. Lying on that bed of arrows, he was no longer a warrior but a great sage. The war raged on around him, but he was at peace. He became a teacher for everyone, sharing his immense wisdom about life, duty and kingship with the Pandavas who came to visit him. Bhishma's story teaches us about the power of a promise and the weight of duty. His life shows that even the greatest strength can become a cage if it is not guided by flexible wisdom. He was loyal, but perhaps his loyalty was to a symbol, the throne, rather than to truth and justice. We learn that vows and duties are important, but we must also understand the bigger picture, the Dharma. Bheesma's life is a powerful reminder that choices have long consequences, and sometimes the most difficult path is not about being unyielding, but about knowing when it is right to bend. His story is not just of a great warrior but of a great tragic soul bound by his own greatness.